Good morning, friends. Did you know that God is not done with you? He's not done with us. There's so much work to be done in the kingdom, and He leaves trails of evidence that this is true throughout the Bible. And today I want to talk to you about the grave cloths and how they specifically mention in John 20, I believe it is. John 20, that He took the grave clothes off and tossed them to the side, but the one on His face He folded. And why is that significant? Well, we're going to talk about it today. So in John 20, starting in verse 6, it says, "Then Simon Peter, who was behind him, arrived and went into the tomb. He saw the strips of linen lying there, as well as the burial cloth that had been around Jesus' head. The cloth was folded up by itself, separate from the linen. And finally, the other disciple who had reached the tomb first also went inside, and he saw and he believed. They did not understand from Scripture that Jesus had to rise from the dead. So why is this significant? Why did He take the time? Why did Jesus take the time after raising from the dead to fold the linen that was on His head? So why is this significant? Well, in order for us to understand why, we have to understand a little bit of Hebrew tradition from that time. See, the napkin was significant. Why? It's just a napkin. See, the folded napkin had to do with the servant and the master, and every Hebrew boy knew this. See, when the servant would set the dinner table for the master, he would make sure that everything was perfect, everything was in its place. And then he would stand just outside the door while the master would be eating. Now, the napkin is significant because that is how the master would signal to the servant that he was done and that he could come and clear the table. So the master would get done, he would eat his food, and when he was done eating, to signal to the servant, he might wipe his hands and face and ball that napkin up and throw it on to the plate, or throw it onto the table, or throw it onto the plate. But let's say the master needed to get up to go, I don't know, use the restroom. There are not restrooms back then. So he'd probably go outside to relieve himself. Okay. Back to what we're supposed to be talking about. Okay. So a signal to the servant from the master that he was not finished would be a folded up, nicely neat, folded up napkin on his table. And the servant would know not to touch that table, not to touch the food, because the master wasn't finished yet. That signaled to the servant that the master was coming back. So do you see the significance? Jesus was so good about leaving us these signals, these signs, these parables for us to look at our own lives, to look at the little things that He left. It's like the little breadcrumbs throughout the Bible, where He leaves these little subtle hints. And I love that about Jesus, because I'm telling you what, guys, there's no other person that could do this except for the Son of God. Leave these intricately woven little signals to us. So the Hebrews were so, and the Jews were so steeped in their traditions that these types of things would signal to them. And we've fallen very far out of a lot of that. And so years down the line, we might not notice the significance of a folded linen in the tomb. But see, there's two things here. One, He ripped the grave clothes off and He threw them aside. Why? Because He was done with death. He had conquered death. He was done with that. But He wasn't done with us. And that was His signal to you and me that He's not done and that He is coming back. What a sweet, sweet promise that is. So if you're feeling any kind of discouragement today, I know that the world is kind of in chaos, and it might seem like, okay, Jesus could come back at any time, and He could come back right now. He could come back in 5 years, 10 years. His time is not ours, because God said, not even the Father nor the angels will know. Now, he did say that he would leave us signs and to look for certain things. And so as Christians, we are looking for those signs, and we see a lot of them. And so our hearts are stirring, and we're thinking, is he going to come back, or are we just going to sit in this dumpster fire of a world and it's going to implode? But I want to encourage you with this today, guys. That was a signal from the master to his servants that he is coming back, and then he is not done with us. So have hope today in this message. And if this bless you, please share this with somebody. We're going to be doing a lot more of these types of videos, and we're going to be bringing in different people to teach you, because this is a community. We talk about it all the time. The Joy Revival is a community of people. It's not just me. It's not just Megan. It's not just Megan and Stacy. There's this group of people, and you're part of it. You are the community. And so we just want to make this feel like a familiar place where you can go and you know you're going to get a sound teaching today. And it might be from me. It might be from someone else. So if this blesses you today in any way, please feel free to share it, like and subscribe so that you won't miss any of our messages coming out. Have a blessed day, my friends.